Franklin Roosevelt told Congress that America would build aircraft in numbers the world had never seen. He spoke of 185,000 planes in 2 years. In Berlin, the reaction was laughter. Reichsmarschall Hermann Göring, head of the Luftwaffe and Hitler's chosen successor, waved the translated speech like a stage prop. "The Americans are bluffing," he told his generals. In 1939, they made fewer than 3,000 airplanes in an entire year. This is propaganda. General Ernst Udet, the Luftwaffe's director of equipment, agreed. "Americans make automobiles, not aircraft," he said. "A Ford is not a Focke-Wulf. Perhaps 10,000 planes a year if they wreck their consumer economy. 185,000 is fantasy." Hitler absorbed their confidence. American skyscrapers, American movies, all show no substance. He dismissed the numbers. It was a fateful mistake. By war's end, American factories had built more than 300,000 military aircraft. Roosevelt's pledge had been conservative, not boastful. German officers who had mocked the claim would watch 1,000 bomber raids pass overhead like moving weather. The roots of the miscalculation ran deeper than arrogance. Years earlier, Luftwaffe officers toured American plants. General Helmuth Felmy visited in 1938. His report was cool. "Quantity over quality," he wrote. "Too much standardization. Not enough craft." Colonel Theodore Rowell, Chief of Strategic Reconnaissance, called American designs uninspired. Good for mail, not war. Japan heard similar warnings and ignored them. Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto, who had studied in America, told Tokyo that the United States could make 100,000 aircraft per year if pressed. General Hideki Tojo called it defeatism. "The Americans are merchants, not warriors," he argued. "They can count planes, but not pilots willing to die." Italy was no more realistic. Marshal Italo Balbo, a famed aviator, had seen American aviation up close. He still told Mussolini that American airplanes were built for air shows. General Francesco Priccolo added that they had heaters and cushions, luxury machines, not weapons. Reality began to intrude. During the Battle of Britain, Luftwaffe pilots met American-built types in British markings. The Curtiss P-40, dismissed as obsolete, fought hard. More troubling was the pace. New aircraft kept arriving. Pilots wrote home about seemingly endless replacements. Göring called the reports excuses. After Pearl Harbor, the Axis felt vindicated. Many American aircraft had been caught on the ground. German planners concluded that the United States would need every plane to defend its own shores. Supplying Britain and Russia while fighting Japan seemed impossible. But American industry had already turned. 3 shifts, 7 days a week. The War Production Board set priorities and broke bottlenecks. Autolines retooled for airframes. Aluminum production surged. Machine tool makers built the tools that made the tools. At Willow Run, the Ford Motor Company attempted what German engineers said could not be done: assembly line production of heavy bombers. Willy Messerschmitt had insisted that such machines required craftsmanship, not conveyor belts. Yet the B-24 Liberator began flowing off lines in minutes, not months. Sections arrived by rail. Jigs and fixtures locked parts into repeatable shapes. Interchangeability replaced artistry. German submarines were the first to feel the change. U-boat commanders reported dense air patrols along the American coast in early 1942. Karl Dönitz doubted the scale at first. Then every boat sent the same message: constant patrols, twin engines, no safe daylight. American production was growing faster than German estimates could adjust. North Africa brought the next shock. The P-38 Lightning appeared in strength, its twin booms unmistakable. The P-47 Thunderbolt, mocked as a jug, was a hammer. It was fast in a dive. It could take punishment that shattered a Messerschmitt Bf-109. Its 8 heavy machine guns ripped armor and columns. And when the Germans overran Allied fields, they found something new: piles of spare parts, engines still in crates. Enough to rebuild squadrons. German ground crews were cannibalizing damaged aircraft just to keep a few flying. Across the Pacific, arithmetic turned brutal. After Midway, Japan lost 4 carriers and most of its veteran air crews. Tokyo believed replacement would take years. American shipyards laid down carriers like bridges. By 1944, the United States had scores of fleet and escort carriers at sea. Japan had only a handful. The Marianas Battle showed the new balance. American fighters and anti-aircraft guns wiped out waves of attackers. Japan lost hundreds of planes and many pilots in a single day. The Americans returned to the task the next morning. By 1943, the skies over Europe told a similar story. B-17, Flying Fortresses, and B-24 Liberators climbed in groups that seemed to fill the horizon. Adolf Galland, the Luftwaffe's fighter chief, warned Berlin that numbers alone were crushing his command. Göring accused him of defeatism. Then he watched a 1,000-bomber raid pass over Berlin. He turned to an aide. "We have lost the war," he said. The Americans build planes like sausages. German engineers made their own grim discovery. After inspecting a crashed B-17, they saw no masterpiece. They saw standardization, parts that fit without filing, systems designed to be robust, not elegant, assembly intended for unskilled hands made skilled by training and process. It was not only a better airplane, it was a better way to make airplanes. Albert Speer tried to copy it. He reorganized plants. He pushed for flow lines. He simplified models. He still found limits he could not move. America had a continent of machine tools, plentiful electricity, and a logistics network that reached every railhead and port. It had a workforce that welcomed women and minorities into factories. It embraced statistical quality control. The Packard Motor Company built Rolls-Royce Merlin engines under license and sometimes delivered tighter tolerances than the British parent. German managers called that impossible until they saw one run. Training magnified production. America used the flood of airframes to build pilots. Hundreds of hours in trainers before combat. Navigators, bombardiers, and radio men followed syllabi, not improvisation. German and Japanese pilots saw their flight hours shrink as losses mounted. New men reached the front, barely prepared. Experience bled away faster than it could be replaced. The numbers are stark. Before the war, American production was modest. Then it ramped. Tens of thousands of aircraft in 1942. Almost 100,000 in 1944 alone. In total, more than 300,000 military planes. Germany produced far fewer. Japan, fewer still. The United States outbuilt all Axis air forces combined. The qualitative edge shifted too. The B-29 Superfortress arrived over Japan in 1944. It carried technology no other belligerent could field in wartime. Pressurized compartments, centralized fire control with powered turrets, long-range radial engines with turbo superchargers. The program cost more than the atomic bomb project, yet thousands of B-29s were delivered, maintained, and supplied with spare parts across the largest ocean on Earth. German hopes for salvation by miracle weapons faded. The Me-262 jet fighter was formidable. It was too few, too late, and too fragile to maintain. Even if each jet had downed many bombers, attrition would still favor the side that could replace losses quickly. V-1 and V-2 weapons consumed resources while American engineers poured concrete for new airfields and fuel depots. Britain became an unsinkable aircraft carrier. By late 1943, the psychological weight was evident in German diaries. "We take off 4 against 400, one ace wrote. We shoot down 10, lose 2, and call it victory. Tomorrow they return with the same numbers. We return with fewer." The lesson was not that Americans built perfect machines. Many were average, some were flawed. The lesson was scale, speed, and system. Tooling that could be duplicated, parts that could be shipped anywhere, and fit on arrival. Fuel of 100 octane or better produced in rivers. Training pipelines measured in thousands, not dozens. Maintenance crews trained to manuals that matched the airplane in front of them. Axis leaders had judged America by peacetime showrooms. They did not imagine that those showrooms were attached to workshops, and those workshops to mills, and those mills to mines, and all of it harnessed by schedules, punch clocks, freight cars, and a national will to standardize. They underestimated women who riveted and inspected and learned fast. They dismissed a multicultural workforce that filled plants day and night. In the end, the American advantage was not a single aircraft or a single factory. It was a way of organizing effort. Roosevelt's figure sounded like propaganda to men who believed craftsmanship beat quantity. It turned out to be a floor, not a ceiling. The skies over Europe and the Pacific recorded the verdict in contrails. The Axis misread the arithmetic. The United States solved it.